A couple of days ago, I went up to Cedar Point. While at the park, I got a couple of rides on Steel Vengeance. One of the rides came during the hot, sunny day, and the other was just after it rained. In this video, I'm going to be sharing my experience of an RMC rain ride. Let's get into it. So what is this RMC rain ride I'm going to be referring to? Well, it's where you ride an RMC hybrid coaster in the rain or just after. In my case, it was right after. There's a saying out there that these coasters are even crazier than before after it rains. This is probably due to something along the lines of the wet track, the wet wheels, or the wet brake fins. So having ridden the coaster on the same day but before and after it rained, I figured I would make a video on this theory. I will be going through each experience and comparing the two. Before I begin, I wanted to clarify a couple of things. First off, both the rides I will be comparing were in the same region of the train, the back. For those that don't know, Steel Vengeance is wild in the back, so my experience may be a little crazier than someone's in the front. Second off, the ride tested for a very long time before it was finally reopened after the weather shut down. This could mean my experience was a little taste of the ride during actual rain. And finally, each ride I will be referring to featured a fully loaded train. Alright, so let's get into the story. It begins with the first experience around 1 o'clock. Steel Vengeance is running amazing as always. As I mentioned earlier, I sat near the back. On the second half of the circuit, I was getting thrown every which way, the typical Steel Vengeance experience. The weather at this time was hot and sunny. Afterward, in anticipation of the coming rain, I went to many other rides in the park, including Maverick and Top Thrill Dragster. Later, I made it back to Steel Vengeance around 5:30. I hoped to get on before the rain came, but that did not happen. The ride first went down for maintenance. It was cleared, then directly shut down for weather. Due to this series of events, the wait was way longer than expected. Ironically, the rest of the line in front of me disappeared when the rain came, leading me right into the station. The crew also had to run a lot of test runs because they were unable to do so before the ride got shut down for weather. At least that's my thinking. I'm not complaining looking back at it. All the test runs allowed the coaster to warm back up. So I finally got on the coaster. I'm gonna go with a side-by-side comparison of the layout and feel. The pre-lift hill part of the ride was virtually the same. The first drop felt very similar as well. After the rain, the coaster felt a slight bit faster. Continuing through the layout, the rest of the first section started to change a little bit. On a normal sunny ride, the train hauls through most of the layout. Even though I just said the train felt like it was going faster after the rain, the speed had a couple of noticeable changes. At the bottom of the first drops, the coaster did feel faster, but at the top, the coaster felt slower. This led to some different forces. For example, on the outer bank turns after the rain, the airtime lasted a lot longer than the normal ride. The same goes for the two inversions. The hang time was a lot more noticeable. But once the train made it back to ground level, it was flying through the mini airtime hills. Now here's where things get drastically different. On most Steel Vengeance rides, the mid-course brake run will kick in. It's noticeable, but not to the point where the second half is sluggish. After the rain, the mid-course brake run did not turn on at all. I don't know why this happened, especially because the crew manually stopped the train on each block while testing after the rain to test the mechanical issue. That would mean the mid-course brake run was fully functional. That just makes the RMC ride so much more surreal, knowing that the mid-course could have and should have kicked in. But the effect on the rest of the ride was on another world. Now the two experiences are completely different as the two trains have different speeds going into the second half. The sunny ride was great as usual, great airtime and speed. On the other hand, the rain ride was on another level. The drop off the mid-course, which did not previously deliver insane airtime, delivered some very solid ejector airtime. Right then and there, I knew I was about to experience the insanity of an RMC rain ride. The biggest difference was the speed, but it resulted in some of the most out-of-control airtime I've ever experienced. The inversions were insanely snappy after being whipped in the other direction from the airtime hills. The best part of the rain ride for me was that finale of straight-up airtime. On a normal ride, this is great, popping up in every direction. After the rain, you get launched in every direction. So much so that my thighs were in some hardcore pain. I've never ridden Skyrush before, but based on what I've heard, the pain is comparable to that of Skyrush. However, the out-of-control airtime was worth every ounce of pain. After I exited the station with my wobbly legs, I went to see if I could get back on. This is another benefit of the rain ride, little to no wait in the queue. That is practically unheard of for Steel Vengeance. If the park had not closed, I would have been able to lap the ride. Sadly, with the combined weight of maintenance and weather, there was just not enough time. And that concludes my RMC rain ride experience. I would say that the fabled rain ride lives up to all the expectations. Remember though, this is an experience on Steel Vengeance, which could differ from other RMC rain rides out there. Something, for instance, like Wicked Cyclone may be much better, but in a different way. This coaster does not have a mid-course brake run, which means there might not be a noticeable change in the second half of the ride. That being said, I've heard the ending can be quite sluggish at times, which could change in the rain as RMCs seem to go faster. With all that being said, I would love to know if you guys have ever been on an RMC rain ride. If so, let me know in the comments below, and be sure to share your experience. Also, if you enjoyed this story, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.